All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you a quick couple of things before we dive into the pen tool. If I, click off of any like element, it's not going to, have it highlighted anymore. But every time I click on something, it's going to not only highlight the element, but it's also going to highlight, which layer it's on. So when I do that, you guys can see a couple different things, right? Obviously, if I flip horizontally or vertically a perfect hexagon, not much is going to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these shapes that I showed you guys, and I'm just going to do one that's not perfect. All right, so let's do a lightning bolt, because why not? All right, so I have my lightning bolt. It just automatically kind of makes its own layer. You guys can see that it kind of, when I do that and hover, I have flip horizontally, flip vertically. And so you can change things at more like precise angles. But I also have this option if I kind of hover around, you guys see that, I have my little tabs here. If I don't hold the shift key down and I move that, I have that freedom to kind of free transform the object. Control Z will obviously like take me back that step. But I also have the option to rotate it. Right, so hovering takes a second sometimes. This doesn't always work just right out of the gate. All right, so you see that little like half finished circle? I can click that and I can kind of free rotate, right? So if you don't necessarily want to, flip horizontally, it's something that you can do. Just wanted to show you guys that. A couple other quick things about shapes. You guys have, the option every time you see the background color, you click on that, it's going to give you that whole plethora of colors that you want. Same thing with the border. I can make my border a different color. Now, when it comes to size, you guys can see it's 0.01 inches. You do want to keep this pretty small. So, for instance, if I want to just clicked off of it, I'm just going to change this to 0.05 just to kind of show you that, if I went to just one outright, it's going to be huge, right? So you really have to think in like micro increments, but just to kind of give you that quick example, right? Something else is that if you hover over a layer, you guys can see a little lock button and an eyeball with a cross through it. If you hit the eyeball with a cross through it, it doesn't delete the layer, but it hides it from view. So that can be really fun and something that's very useful when you're working with a lot of layers. And then you can also lock it. If I lock it, I can't move it, right? So if you want something to stay in place, that's a good option. But if you want to move it, keep it free and keep it open, right? So let's go ahead and I want to show you guys to work with a couple of shapes. I know I said I'm going to do the pen tool, but I want to do this first, right? So I'm going to have a nice ellipse here. I'm going to hold down my shift key. Ta-da! I'm going to change the color mainly because that kind of looks like minty green. I don't like mint, right? Fun fact about me. So I'm going to change it to blue just for fun, right? I can always change that color. Nothing is ever permanent. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to get this little teardrop shape. I'm not going to control that one. I want this to I want to manipulate it myself. So I can kind of drag and drop it. You can always resize something once you've added it. I'm just going to change the color here to a teal for fun. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start placing this around my circle, right? So I'm going to make a lot of these. I'm going to copy, Control C, Control V to paste. You can also just, if you right click, it says duplicate. That's another quick way to do it, but just to kind of show you, right? So I'm going to turn these little bad boys. Come on. Always takes a minute. I don't know why. Let's go ahead and move you off. I just want the teardrop. There we go. I'm going to turn this just to kind of show you the possibilities. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to, oh, that's helpful. I'm going to rotate this one as well. I'm going to try to place these both in the circle. You see that kind of grid that comes up? That's always really helpful. All right, so I've got my little teardrops in here. I'm not quite sure why these are grouped together, but here we are. Just going to kind of slide this out of the way, and I'm going to pick up where we left off.